Welcome in. It is the Clippers Talk Live. I'm Adam Moslin. Sorry for the pregnant pause there and the delay. Just woke up, feeling dangerous, feeling ready to take on the world, and ready for this Clippers game tonight against the Phoenix Suns. I feel like they just played yesterday. Yeah, home back-to-back at Intuit Dome is what we got. Second night of a back-to-back is a game against the Phoenix Suns. I think you can guess what the main topic is going to be here. It's just good to be back with you guys. Went to bed far too late, made a mistake, ate McDonald's extremely late. That was not the move. I think it was 1:30 in the morning. I'm not doing that again. When I do Clippers talks after dark, I will not be getting McDonald's. This is my new goal. I can't keep doing that. JMI1324 said you just woke up. Well, yeah, I went to bed probably, 2:30, 3 by the time I went to sleep. Miles Johnson said Harden shooting 35% isn't good enough. Hope he can start making shots ASAP. Yeah, same. He also said, cut the turnovers down as well, please, James. Here's what you're missing here, Miles. He is gassed. He is having to do far too much. He has the ball in his hands constantly. He has the third highest usage rate in the league at the age of 35. He's not SGA or Luka Doncic, the two guys in front of him, usage rating wise. He's 35. This isn't 2017 Harden. It's not sustainable. I said it when they won those two games over the weekend. It was the first thing I brought up on the Clips and Dip episode we just did on Monday. It's not sustainable, and you're seeing it now. It is catching up to him and the Clippers. I don't know what's wrong with my damn camera lately, but I hope at least the audio is okay. Maybe I need a new Logitech one. I don't know what to tell you. I told you when they were winning those two games, it's a problem. It's a warning sign. It's something to be concerned about moving forward. And it's not getting any better. People are quick to say, no, Adam, it's just he's got to get his legs underneath him. Beginning of the season, got to get in NBA shape. Can only do that with NBA reps. Well, we'll see about that. I think it's more due to he's 35 years of age and he's having to orchestrate the offense all the time, and there's far too much of a workload on him. So what's the solution? Can they get Harden more off ball? They talked about that all preseason during training camp. Miles Johnson's bringing up how he's missed some key free throws. That is your legs. It's a good point, Miles Johnson. That is fatigue. That is your dogs being tired. They have to find a solution to have somebody else create and bring the ball up. And right now, it's not looking like Kevin Porter Jr. I understand we're only 4 games in. But to that point, they're only 4 games in, and Harden is looking this tired already. What can be done to take some of the scoring burden and shot creating burden off of James Harden? If it's not Kevin Porter Jr., who is still struggling, even though he went 5 of 11, had some good makes, he did have 5 turnovers in the game yesterday. If it's not one thing, it's another. You know, his shot was going a little bit, but the turnovers, some really bad ones were happening. I am concerned and have been since the offseason about this part of the Clippers offense. Who else can go out there, run high pick and roll, get them organized into their sets if it's not James Harden? Who can do it? Terrence Mann is still struggling. That's not a good sign. Missed 2 3-pointers last night. Missed a jumper. He desperately needs some shots to drop. JMI 1324 said, why not start Dunn and bring T-Man off the bench to have a secondary playmaker in the starting lineup without giving up anything defensively? I don't hate that idea at all. I thought this offseason, when they brought in Chris Dunn, there was a good chance he was going to start. He is one of the best point of attack defenders in the league. He is a specialist defensively. He is a special player on that end. He can be what Patrick Beverley was to James Harden in Houston in that backcourt. And yes, he can bring the ball up some, just like Pat Bev. I don't think I want to read what Sam said here. They need something. And I know it's just game 2 of this 5-game homestand. And I don't want to set off a panic. Clippers are 2-2. I said I'd sign up for 5-5 after their first 10 games. People are telling me they're going to go 8-2, 7-3. They got OKC coming up. They got Philly coming up. We'll see if they're healthy. San Antonio with Wemby coming up. I don't think it's a break glass move to ask for this guy. This guy right here. Jordan Miller. I said I'd play him game 1. After the last preseason game against Sacramento here, where he was doing it against real NBA talent and bodying up Keegan Murray, who was a good young player, and not looking like the moment was too big for him when Sacramento was playing Sabonis 30 minutes in that last preseason game, and they were going for it. I said then, wait a second. What are we doing exactly with Jordan Miller? He has cleared all the hurdles and all the challenges and every test he has passed that you have put in front of him. G League last season, 8th in points per game in the G League. Summer League, should have been the MVP over Jalen Wilson. Should have been, sorry. You beat a guy head-to-head. You have better individual stats. You beat him head-to-head. Your team goes further. You probably should be the Summer League MVP. Then the preseason looked great too. And then at the very end of the preseason, he gets a chance to do it against NBA talent in the Sacramento Kings and looks great. The Kings were playing guys. Outside De'Aaron Fox, they had pretty much everybody in. And Jordan Miller, the moment did not look too big for him. And now you're getting into the situation where James Harden looks gassed, and it's 4 games in. The heavy workload is taking its toll on his legs. He's 35. You need him. Kawhi's still out. Where do you go? Terrence Mann isn't playing well right now. Kevin Porter Jr. He hasn't progressed far enough so far. If I have to mute myself for 10 minutes after saying after a preseason game at some point he's going to be in the starting lineup, or could be, I may have to. But there seems to be a solution. And we don't know if he's going to come out of the gates and play well and how much of a learning curve it will be. But I just think one of the options has to be going to Jordan Miller and not waiting much longer, because they need some juice offensively desperately. I was watching Jordan Miller work out with Kobe Brown pregame. Something about this guy. He gets it. You listen to that post game after the preseason against Sacramento, being asked those questions about is it frustrating and the level of maturity and how well he articulated everything that he's gone through. And now he's just trying to do now and not try to prove anything necessarily, because if you think about that part of it, it doesn't help you. Just do it. I love this guy. I want to see him on the court quickly. Yeah, they got the Suns tonight. JMI 13-24. Triple J said, I mean, man isn't much better at the moment scoring wise. No, I still don't think it's time to pull the plug on these guys. This is one of the instances that Ty Lue's 10-game experiments will help the team. Here's what I'm thinking, though. We're about to get to game 5, halfway through a 10-game experiment. Maybe because they just don't have the room for error this season. That 10 games might be overkill. There has to be more of a sense of urgency. You got to win games now. We don't know when Kawhi's coming back. And you don't want to see them start off 2-6 or 3-7 and really not tread water or stay around 500, but be 5 games under it early in the season. That can be troublesome and a tough hole to climb out of. So do they try something sooner than just waiting for the 10-game sample size to come in? Sam Sanatorium said Harden is not built to play 40 minutes a game. We might be screwed, not going to lie. Well, after 2 days off, James Harden last night only had to play 32, and it still seemed like a lot. 5 turnovers. I think he's still leading the league in turnovers. He might also still be leading the league in assists. It's because the ball is in his hands constantly. He's doing everything. It's a lot to ask of a guy at the age of 35. Optimus Prime 12-13 said Jordan Miller deserves minutes. Good to see our John Wayne-like leader, Optimus Prime, back in here. Autobots transform and roll out. Caleb said, I think we give it a bit more time, but I'm concerned, not going to lie. Say they get down 15 in the first half. Does then Coach Lue make the move tonight? It is a back-to-back. Guys are tired from last night. Typically, that's when you go deeper into your bench. Is it possible it happens tonight? Sunken City Clip said Jordan Miller should get some minutes today. Today, Junior. Les said, I can't believe I was sticking up for Porter. I see the logic in trying to get Kevin Porter Jr. going. It doesn't seem to be happening fast enough right now. Like I said, last night his scoring was better outside of missing threes and then force-feeding him the basketball and trying to get him going from 3, which I think ended up hurting them in the end. But he had some really bad turnovers. Far too loose and careless with the basketball. It's not one thing, it's another. Triple J said, also might be a dumb question, but why can't Miller cut into Man's minutes instead of KPJ? Well, Man's the starter and getting paid, an extension where he's getting almost about $16 million a year. I think Terrence Mann should have a longer leash. He has a longer track record of proving things with the Clippers. He just shot 44% his last 50 games last season and 45% from 3 in the playoffs. So 44% after their slow start from 3. It's happening again. There is a track record of Terrence Mann turning things around. Triple J said 10 games being overkill. Yeah, I think you're right on that. Good point. I totally understand why you'd go 10 games. But that is more than 10% of the season. What is that, like 13? What's 10% of 82? Let's do the math here. NBA is all about math now. Yeah, I mean, it is far too many. It's just far too many games if they're starting slow. If they don't win tonight against Phoenix, then you have OKC. Things are starting to get dicey. You can't fall down too far in the standings with this many good teams in the Western Conference. It's just a problematic way to start the season without Kawhi Leonard. Mark Jag said should have closed out with Dunn instead of Coffee to help guard Simons. Maybe. I don't think that's why they lost the game, Mark. They missed 5 free throws in the fourth quarter. They missed their last 3 free throws. I thought Coffee was fine. Andrew Mack said, no panic. I knew on the offensive side they would struggle, especially the bench. True. The defense is top tier. Just execution is going to take time. A lot of these guys are in an unfamiliar situation. All that's fair, Andre. It is. But you're saying it's going to take time. Do they have time? I don't think time is on my side. Yes, it is. I don't think it's on their side right now. The clock's ticking, dude. The guy said Michelangelo and Ninja Turtles waiting for the pizza. I don't think they have a ton of time to wait and see what they have. You have to figure things out, kind of build the plane while you're flying, and that's tough. You got to win games. You have to win games right now. Optimus Prime 1213 said, I'm praying for my Clippers to get a title because me as a Clipper fan waited too long for this. Well, some say it could be our year, Will Updike. I don't know if this is the year that I would say that. They need Kawhi back. They need to see what they have. And I think here's my point with Jordan Miller. The reason you draft a guy at the age of 23, the reason you draft the 2 oldest guys in the draft with him and Kobe Brown is to get them out on the court sooner than later, is to hopefully have a more developed, closer to a ready-made product. Well, it looks like Jordan Miller's there. So what are we waiting for? I get it. It's not that easy. Who's he taking minutes from? Tough decisions will have to be made. I said this after the last preseason game. This is what is asked of this job. You got to break some hearts. You got to rearrange lineups and rotations. And this early in the season, maybe it's too much to ask to tell a vet or a guy in KPJ after 4 games, hey, we're going a different direction, because how do you go back to that guy if Jordan Miller doesn't work out? If Jordan Miller really struggles, doesn't look ready, needs to go back to the G League, needs more seasoning, they say, hey, Amir, KPJ, guys who he just took minutes from, I need your trust again, and I need you to get back out there. That's difficult. That's the dilemma. Andre Mack said All-Star break because the roughest part of the schedule is after All-Star when you should be hitting on all cylinders. There's no time where you say a team should be hitting on all cylinders. It could come early in the season. It could come 2 weeks in. It could come a couple of months in. It could come before All-Star break, after All-Star break. Like, every team would love to peak right before the playoffs. Some teams have the security of knowing they have a longer runway in a wider margin of error to be able to get by, to stay above 500, and then really take off as you're going into the playoffs. The Clippers don't have that luxury, my friend. They got to win now. Sam Sanatorium said, I don't feel good about tonight. I see us making the same mistakes over and over again. Ty Lue never gives up on his bad rotation. No, he does. That's not true. Andre said, you're right. You have to win games, but I haven't been discouraged with the fight shown. They look more comfortable on the road than at home. Sorry. Well, they need to get a victory at Intuit Dome. The wall has been too good. The fans have been loud and doing their part. Andre also said KPJ is aggressive, but man, his decision-making is horrible. They got to get a win at Intuit Dome soon. They can't wait. They got to get this going now because it's a 5-game homestand. So time is of the essence. Figuring out the backdrop and the depth perception at Intuit Dome, I don't think it's been much of a problem. The reason they have lost games, they've made mistakes down the stretch. They've had bad turnovers. They missed free throws. I don't think the wall was making them miss free throws. I think it was tired legs, and Ivica Zubac just didn't look that engaged from the outset yesterday. He didn't get a shot the first 6.5 minutes of the game that he was in the first quarter before he sat and went to the bench. How can that happen? How, Sway? Les said it was hard for Porter just to dribble last night. At times, other times, he was going past guys, getting to the basket, tough reverse layup. Like, that's the problem. It's up and down, right? It is a player that looks like he hasn't played organized basketball at this level in a year. And while he may have some of the tools, they are so rusty right now. They need sharpening. Andre said, yes, a win is needed at home. It is. They got to get this going. And they got to do so against a team that just beat them when they were up by 9 with 3:52 left, opening night into a dome against Phoenix. Tonight is the rematch. Mark Jag said, Simons and Ayton looked like Kobe and Shaq 2.0 out there last night. I couldn't believe the DeAndre Ayton shot over the triple team where I thought he was just trying to draw a foul with about a minute and a half left. He had a very good game. Even though the numbers aren't crazy, you look at it, 15 and 12, 7 of 15. He's under 50% shooting. But big buckets, a three-pointer in the fourth quarter made by Ayton. Klingon hit a damn three on him. I think he took like 12 total in college at UConn, or 10. Crazy. Some of it was fluky. And that's how you lose to a team like Portland. But when you're close enough that you're daring something fluky to happen to beat you because the scorer and the game is so tight against a team like the Portland Trail Blazers, that's on you. I thought it was a deserved loss by the Clippers. They earned it. Well-earned loss. They didn't create any real separation. They let Portland go on multiple runs on them. Their offense got stagnant. They couldn't figure things out when they were trapping James Harden and just getting the ball out of his hands. Joe Rosenfeld said, I can't watch another KPJ ISO dribbling into a collapsing defense and then making the wrong read, shot, or bad pass. Reminds me of the momentum-killing plays PG and Russ would make. I get it's frustrating, but he also had some really good moments. What about when he drew two and found Kai Jones for that big dunk? What about Kai Jones taking Klingon off the dribble from the perimeter and getting to the basket for a big throwdown too? That was impressive. I'm just saying it's not all down with KPJ. I can bring up actual examples. And that's what they're chasing right now. More of the up. The last two games have looked better than the first two games from him. They better enough to justify him still being thrown out there if they're not winning? I don't know. Sam said, we don't have enough firepower to close out the Suns. Harden looked dead tired versus the Suns. He looked tired last night, too. He looked tired over the weekend. You're missing free throws. Often that's your legs or just mental error, not staying focused. Mark Jag said the rebounding was a big problem as well. Well, the offensive rebounds by the Portland Trail Blazers, one of my box scores says 12, but they had 22 second chance points to the Clippers 12. 10 more second chance points last night by the Portland Trail Blazers. They went, I think, 9 of 15 or 9 of 14 on second chance opportunities. They made the Clippers pay whenever they got extra possessions out there. That was a huge part of the game last night. Mark Jag said Portland got a lot of second chance opportunities. Yes. That's what I was referred to. Sorry, I didn't see that earlier. Sore Losers Gaming said defense said let's take a night off. Did they? I mean, they gave up 106 points. For perspective, I think the worst team in the NBA last season, offensive wise, stat wise, averaged around 106. Giving up 106 isn't bad. Now, what would it have been if they closed out possessions? Which they didn't. Too many second chance opportunities. Yeah. The worst offense last season was the Memphis Grizzlies at 105.8. Giving up 106 points isn't exactly taking a night off. Could they have been better? Could they have been more consistent? Sure. They still had a 24-second violation in the fourth quarter on Portland. They played great defense that possession. They got multiple stops in the fourth quarter. Sore Losers Gaming said, I was more shocked with our defense than offense. Oh, and free throws. They gave up 106 points, guys. You're shocked by that? I'm not saying the defense was great or as locked in, but that's a score that you should be able to live with and win. Joe Rosenfeld said a second quarter, a closing third quarter lineup consisting of Norm, Harden with Dunn, Miller, Coffey, and Batum is safe and has a neutral floor. Okay. M7MD Boy said, unrelated to last game, but man, Jordan Miller could be the face of this franchise after Kawhi's tenure is over. He seems so promising. Hope he doesn't get held back so much. Guys, he's turning 25 before the end of this season. He's not 19. He's not 22. He's about to be 25. Between that, with how he's looked at every level so far, G League dominated, Summer League dominated, preseason was great. I think he's earned the opportunity. But somebody else, you got to break their heart. And if Jordan Miller comes in and doesn't perform, and then you got to go back to that guy who you benched for Jordan Miller, ooh, that's a tough ask. That's the politics of the game. That's how you can lose a locker room. It's not as simple as just play Jordan Miller. Who you're playing him over. And if he's not successful and struggles, and you got to go back to that guy, what happens? Sore Losers Gaming said it felt like 155 to me. I guess the effortless buckets. Yeah, well, it was 106, so I don't know what to tell you. They did get too many easy buckets compared to what the Clippers were giving up against Golden State, against Denver over the weekend. I agree with you there. There is some eye test to the defense where it just wasn't as focused and wasn't quite as sharp. Sore Losers Gaming. Legend said, when is Bamba coming back? We don't know. He's at least out for these 2 games. We did see him getting shots up pregame. This was very early. I think this is information I can give out. He was getting up some shots. He's gone through some workouts. I mean, he was going through workouts in Honolulu, some walkthrough stuff. Bill Moe said Miller should have a chance. Okay, tell me how he's playing, who he's playing over, though. Les said, same thing with Mann. Everyone is expecting him to develop to this really good basketball player. Mann has reached his ceiling. I don't know if he's reached his ceiling, but he's definitely scraping it. He's definitely getting closer. Mann is 28 now. So the thought of him turning into, the baby Kawhi stuff when you had the Spider-Man meme from Into the Spider-Verse, shout out Phil Lord, that hasn't come to fruition. And those were always lofty expectations anyways. Sore Losers Gaming said, it's okay to disagree with one another, my guy. We all have different perspectives as fans. Okay, but 106 is 106. Like, there's nothing, that's not an opinion. That's how many points they gave up. I get it. And yeah, I agree with some of what you're saying. There were still some easy buckets, them getting into transition and getting some easy ones. Like, I'm talking about the actual score. Sunken City Clips said the Spurs game might be the Clippers' first home win. Harden looks tired in the fourth quarter almost every game so far. Norm has been amazing as a starter. Happy that he finally gets to show how good he really is. If there is a bright spot right now, it is absolutely Norman Powell. And I get what people are talking about with that shot from Amir Coffey late where Norm was open in the far side corner, it looked like. Yeah, I mean, Norm was, 5 of 10 from 3. Makes sense to go to him there. He had the hot hand. I trust Amir Coffey in that situation, but 47 seconds left. He misses that 3. Looked like Norm could have had a shot. Looked like they could have got it to Norm. When James Harden's trying to throw it over the top of the defense and Ayton bats it away, another turnover to end a game at Intuit Dome. Norm, with 3.9 seconds left, could have had it on the left wing from, 35 feet out, but 3.9 seconds left. He can get to work there. The real list said Kawhi better be back by Thanksgiving. Or what? They're going to be 10 games under 500. It is almost the first of the month. Wake up, wake up, wake up. I just can't emphasize enough how I've been asking for, and I put out the Bernie Sanders meme on X. Once again, I am asking for Jordan Miller minutes. But it's not that simple. How do you get him in? Who does he take minutes away from? And what happens in the locker room with that guy if you do it this early, before they've even played 5 full games? You don't want to look like you're panicking as the leader either in Coach Lue, right? You make a drastic decision this early, what's the perception within the locker room? Bill Mose said Mann's role overlaps exactly with Jones Jr.'s and Dunn. And his position on the team is awkward, a wing who can't make three-pointers. Except for this, Bill. He just shot 44% from 3 the last 50 games of last season and shot 45% from 3 in that playoff series against Dallas. And he's a 37% career three-point shooter. So he clearly can make threes. He's not making them right now, is I think what you mean, I hope. Or what? Joe Rosenfeld said, the half glass full perspective is what we're in close games. Glass half full perspective is that we're in close games. Last season, we opened the year losing to a Jacob Gilyard-led Grizzlies. I don't remember that game. I don't want to remember that game, maybe. Legend said we need to run zone against the Suns. I mean, does that mean you're giving up open jumpers? I don't know if that's a great idea, my man. The Suns are a jump shooting team. They can hit tough ones. If you give up those shots, which typically is what you're doing in a zone, making them beat you with their shooting, the Suns are probably going to do that. Mark Jag said if they were going to throw a lob at the end, should have went with Kai. I don't know if Kai ever gets that position on Ayton, who made a remarkable defensive play. You got to tip your cap in some ways to DeAndre Ayton, guys. He was really good. I would have gone with Norman Powell because of how Ayton was being that physical with Ivica Zubac. Just didn't look like Zoo could get loose of him. Les said these losses have all been super close. Well, the Clippers are well aware they're going to be in a ton of close games this season. They mentioned it again post-game. They've pretty much talked about it every game. So you have to be better at executing in these situations. 2 of the games they were really good. 2 of the games they were really bad. Mixed bag. Who are they? It's only 4 games in. Time will tell. You can't put everything into 4 games and say we know who this team is. But it does seem to look like James Harden is wearing down. They're putting bigger, longer defenders on him. They're giving him different looks. And if you slow down James Harden, you slow down the Clippers, period. And we said that coming into the year. Sam Sanatorium said, is a win at home asking for too much? Once again, I'm asking for a win in Intuit Dome. Tonight it could be their first victory. Taking on the Suns. Jonathan Ing said the defensive intensity tonight needs to be like the first 3 games. Cannot have another letdown in effort like last night against Portland, where the other team played much harder than the Clippers. It looked like that at times. Bill Moe said Nico should make more threes. Okay. Nico, make more threes. Like what? You think he's not trying? He's not taking a lot of shots, if that's your point. He did knock down 1 3-pointer. It was to start the 4th quarter last night. I was hoping that was going to fuel them, put them up by 6. Like, that's the thing. They could get some separation. See, the same reason they're never out of a game is the same reason in some ways they're never running away with a game. They're never out of a game because defensively they can string together 4 or 5 straight stops. And over that time, their offense can get them back into it. But also they can string together on the offensive end 4 or 5 straight possessions where they don't score. And therefore the opposition's offense gets them into it. Legend said the last position from Harden should have been bounce pass to Zubats. He can catch bounce passes better. It was an inbounds pass on the sideline. You can't throw a bounce pass from there, Legend. What? Somebody help my guy. Somebody help him. Is he talking about the final possession? I don't understand that one. Legend going legend with saying throw a bounce pass on an inbounds. Do we need to see the play again? Do I need to play it for you? Have we forgotten what it looked like? I get it. It was a long night. Maybe you were celebrating the Dodgers winning. It looked like, and what it looked like if you threw a bounce pass. I'll share the screen with you here. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something. I don't know if throwing a bounce pass in this position would have been the way. I think a bounce pass here to Ivica Zubac could be problematic. I don't know. There's a guy right in front of him guarding the inbounds. There's Jeremy Grant here. I think you got to throw that over the top. But hey, look at DeAndre Ayton. Extremely well defended. It still looks like it's going to get there. Just look at it right there. It looks like it's going to get there to Zoo. It did not. Narrator says it did not. That's just... I don't even hate the pass. From there, it looks like it's going to get to Zoo. Frustrating. Jonathan Ing said, not sure if it was mentioned since I joined late, but on that 3 that Amir took late, he hesitated before shooting. He was thinking about swinging to Norm in the corner. That hesitation threw Amir off. Yeah, I did mention that, and he probably should have swung it. Jonathan Ing said on the broadcast, Jim Jackson said Amir should have swung it to Norm since Norm was shooting well at that point. I wonder if one of the reasons he didn't swing it to Norm was because earlier in the 4th quarter, I believe he swung it on the other side of the court when I thought he should have taken the shot, Amir Coffey, on the right wing. He was open. He made the extra pass to the near side corner. It was Kevin Porter Jr. who was wide open, but in that case, I just, you got to take that shot. Kevin Porter Jr. is not knocking him down from 3. I don't think he's hit one yet. Legend is back. Zubac soft. Should protect his back better to catch the ball. He didn't steal his man great, but he was being held a ton. And I'm still waiting for you to discuss how you wanted a bounce pass from James Harden there. Are we going to hear that? The Pull Up Basketball Podcast said salute. Salute. We're back. When did we last pod? 7 hours ago? Something like that. But yeah, there were a ton of ways they could have won that game. Instead, they found the one or two ways to lose it. Poor decision-making down the stretch with shot selection. Remember, James Harden ran the high pick and roll, and Ivica Zubac had a dunk late that he missed as his rhythm and timing seemed to be off all game, maybe because he didn't get many shots up at all, 7 total. But that's how he got to the free throw line for those 2 free throws he missed. It started with a beautiful high pick and roll play from James Harden, where Big Zoo actually attacked the paint quickly. That's what's tough. Norman Powell, though, did just make a shot at the 2-minute mark. It felt like they had the right sense of urgency. They had the right guy to get it to. And then at the end, Amir Coffey takes that 3. When I saw it live, I thought it looked good. I thought Amir thought it looked good. But I agree with you, Jonathan Ng. You got to get it to the hot hand in Norman Powell. And not just the hot hand in this game, but Norman Powell, he shot in fourth quarters last season, guys, almost 55% from the field and almost 50% from 3. He was incredible in fourth quarters. He's Mr. Fourth Quarter. He's clutch for them. He's been good so far this season. He had the 22-point fourth quarter against Denver. You got to find that guy. So, completely agree. Jonathan Ng said, was Zeus supposed to screen off Grant to let Norm get free? He did set that screen. Norm was free. It was hard to tell if it was completely no contact. It obviously wasn't a lot of contact if he made it with Grant, but Norm was free. The play was supposed to go to Zoo. That was the first option. The second option was Norman Powell. Norm could have gotten it. He was wide open on the left wing. That wasn't the issue. He made a little move on Jeremy Grant to lose him too. There's 3.9 seconds left. He could have gotten the ball with room to operate. Sam said, Zubaka is not soft, idiot. Said that to Legend. One bad game, and Legend says Zubac is soft. The Pull Up Podcast said, Zubac gained 7 shots is why we lost. Hey, I've mentioned that about 50 times. Hard not feeding Zubac off the pocket and roll. We got away. What worked for us. Ayton is soft in the paint. I don't know why Zoo didn't get the ball more. Well, they were doubling him. They were throwing a lot of guys at Ivica Zubac early on in the game. They were disrupting what the Clippers do best. But they still, I say, get it to Ivica Zubac and let him make that decision out of the short roll or out of the double team where he has to find the man who's open. It is not an option to get Zoo going. It is a necessity to get Zoo going. He can't not take a shot in the first 6.5 minutes. Out of the first 4 shots he took, he only had 4 shot attempts in the first half. 2 of them were off of offensive rebounds, I believe he had. Second chance opportunities he had to create for himself. Legend is shifting again. Now he's saying, so he hasn't addressed the part where he said Harden should throw a bounce pass on the inbounds pass, which obviously would have been a turnover. Now he's saying, why even Harden passing the ball? He should be first option in the clutch. Well, he's the best passer out there. I suppose you could make the argument you could sub in Nico Batum to make the inbounds pass. Therefore, Harden and Norm and Ivica Zubac are all options. I think that's a fair point. Not exactly what Legend made after saying Zoo was soft and Harden should have thrown a bounce pass, the inbounds pass. Legend is dangerously close to a timeout. Just spreading too much misinformation or bad opinions here. We won't stand for it. Not here on Clippers Talk. I understand the frustration right now, and that's why I'm asking, is it time for Jordan Miller in Game 5? Is it already time? Losing to Portland, can that expedite Jordan Miller getting minutes sooner than later? Howard said, I see why KPJ is getting minutes compared to Bones, higher upside and lesser dribbling. I don't know about lesser dribbling, but it's close. KPJ needs to come through now. He has looked better the last 2 games than the first 2 games. I think that's fair to say with KPJ. Has he looked good enough? No. But I agree, the upside is higher. He's a bigger body, but it's not playing well enough right now. M7MD Boys said, hey, maybe these are the type of losses that the team should get for everybody to just look in the mirror and fix their flaws. Takes time. And they work on all this stuff anyways, regardless, win or loss. But I hear you. It's just you can't afford to lose to Portland, who you play 4 times this season. That was a gift. The Clippers getting to play them 4 times. A team outside their division, you play 3 or 4 teams outside your division in the same conference 4 times. I want to say Minnesota is one, and the Rockets are another. And Portland's one of them. And I said you got to win all 4 of those games, and they already dropped their first. Drip Galore said Ayton is definitely soft. Should have been a win. He didn't look soft last night, my friend. Knocked down a big 3-pointer, had a bucket over a triple team late. He outplayed Zubats. How much of that, though, is the Clippers just not going to Zubats enough? That would be my argument. Some of it's on Zubats not demanding the basketball. Some of it is on his teammates not getting him the basketball. Really felt like that was the case. And you saw it immediately. The Pull-Up Podcast said if KPJ is not going to provide offense, what we brought him in for, then yeah, make that switch. KPJ needs more time, though. How much more? How many games can they lose? If they start 2-6, you still giving them more time? At what point do you have to have a sense of urgency? At what point do you have to go to Jordan Miller? Is it tonight? They just lost to Portland. The only upside I could see in losing last night's game is it puts more of an onus on the coaching staff to really think about going with Jordan Miller, because the same problems are occurring where you just don't have a backup playmaker, one that's being consistent. Jordan Miller can do some of that. What I would do is have him next to Chris Dunn. Chris Dunn has those playmaking responsibilities with Jordan Miller out there as a secondary playmaker with the second unit. Bonesaw said, did Lou switch the rotation last night? No. Sam said KPJ is annoying as hell. What part of the rotation were you looking to be switched, Bonesaw? I'm interested in this. Howard said, who you prefer, Adam, Bones or Miller? I don't think Bones is long for being a Clipper. I think the only reason he's still on the team in some ways is because that suspension could be coming from KPJ, and therefore he could get back into the rotation. But obviously, he didn't get much run after they brought in James Harden last season and hasn't seemed to earn the minutes or the opportunity in the eyes of the coaching staff. Jordan Miller is the guy with far higher upside on this Clippers team right now with all the untapped potential. I think they know what they're getting with Bones at this point. Edward Raya said, unfortunately, this is who they are without Kawhi, a 500 team. They will surprise one night and disappoint you the next. Our players outside of Harden are C to B- quality. I don't hate they will surprise you one night and disappoint you the next. A 500 team without Kawhi. I think, unfortunately, that could be very accurate. Drip Galore said Zubac should have had a better start. If he's not getting one or more of the first 5 shots, he doesn't give his best. I do think there's something with bad body language with the Vita Zubac sometimes. He gets frustrated. And I thought he noticeably was at times yesterday. I just don't understand how you cannot get him involved, even if you have to force feed him, even if they're doubling or triple teaming. Get it to Zoo and let him make a decision on finding the open man at least. Give him that opportunity. The touches were not there. Bonesaw said Zubac's timing with the first unit, second unit. They lost their minutes by 2 in the first half with the Zubats, KPJ, Amir Coffey, Chris Dunn, but 2 minutes. I want to say pretty early in the second quarter. They lost those minutes finally. Zubats was out midway through the first quarter because they were trying to preserve him and not probably go above 30 minutes. It still happened because it was too close of a game. They're trying to win, but first of two on a back-to-back at home. They did what they could. Yeah, Zubats entered the 10:56 mark to join the rest of that crew. That was a plus 10 when it came to that backup second unit minutes with him, KPJ, Amir Coffey, Chris Dunn, and Nico Batum. And they entered the game at plus 10 in 14 minutes there. They had been doing really good work to start fourth quarters, to start second quarters. If you're talking about rotations being a little bit upended because of the fact that they were trying to spare guys heavy minutes, that did happen to some degree last night. The Pull Up Podcast said give KPJ a couple more weeks. But again, when we play through Zoo early, that gets him going. You can afford KPJ to have some mistakes. Zubats, he was out of sync yesterday with Harden, shot jacking threes. Zubats don't have to shoot. He just needs to touch the ball each possession. I mean, I agree. But again, how many more weeks are you going to give if they're not winning ball games, my friend? How many weeks? I think it's very much dependent on what their record is. They cannot afford to go and start 2-7 or something, or 3-8, or 4-9, or 4-8. They can't. So how many more weeks? I know KPJ Hive was asking for this and talking about Kevin Porter Jr. a lot this offseason, but he hasn't looked good. Jonathan Ing said, unfortunately, the Clippers can't give KPJ weeks. While he has played better recently, he has just been bad overall. The decision-making is a total mixed bag. There's no getting around that. I agree with Jonathan Ing. You can't. I don't know. Hey, if they get down big early to Phoenix tonight, I think that could be the impetus for getting Jordan Miller into the ball game, where they finally say, we got to give this guy a shot. It's time. It's not working. But it's only game 5. Maybe I'm jumping the gun here. And this coaching staff is really going to let things play out for 10 games before they make any decisions. Do they have 10 games? The schedule goes like this. After Phoenix tonight, they got the Thunder Saturday night. Then the Spurs Monday night. Still all home games. This is the 5-game homestand. Then the 76ers on Wednesday. That's the end of the 5-game homestand. Then they're taking on the Kings up in Sacktown on Friday. Then Raptors at home. Then Thunder on the road. Then Rockets on the road twice. One of those games is a group stage for the NBA Cup, if those things matter to you. The schedule's tough. Do you have that much time? So Sam said, sorry, cousin, I'm done with KPJ. I think that's the Pull Up Podcast. Drip Galore said, KPJ isn't ready and we don't have time to wait. Neither does he have left to even play. I don't think you have time after you lose to the Portland Trail Blazers, but I understand the logic of not giving up on somebody this early. But he hasn't looked great. Absolutely mixed results at best the last 2 games, where he was better than the first 2 games, and you're still saying mixed results at best. At best. That's being kind. The shot maybe coming around a little bit. Still can't hit a 3-pointer. When I see Chris Dunn give it right back to him and say, take the 3, you're seeing the process and what the players are going through there and saying, we know we need this guy to get going. We need him. It's probably part of the game plan. They can't get by if they don't find another ball handler. That's it. They can't. James Harden is getting worn down. Sunken City Clips said almost every Clippers fan wants Jordan Miller to get real rotation minutes. I hope he gets them versus the Buns tonight. The Pull Up Podcast still wants KPJ in. Said he played 5 games overseas last season. I think it was actually 6. It's not aggressive or a skill problem. He is working through the kinks. He can play. Jordan Miller is good, but he will have to go through an adjustment playing against real teams in the NBA. Man, I just saw him play against the Sacramento Kings when they were playing their guys, except for De'Aaron Fox in the preseason, and he looked great going up against Keegan Murray in a game the Kings were trying to show something. Like, yeah, there's always an adjustment period. How long do the Clippers have to wait? And is KPJ, here's the problem. Even if KPJ is working at the Kings, we still don't know who he is as a player on a team that isn't completely dysfunctional like the Houston Rockets were, where he was allotted all those minutes, where he had all those opportunities because they were a really bad team. We don't know if he can be impactful on a good team yet, even if he does get up to speed. We don't know that. So to act like KPJ is some known commodity and they need to give him time to figure it out because this is a guy that has done this or that in the NBA. Yeah, he's averaged 19 points per game for a miserable team, and he wasn't that efficient. So I think it's a little bit of still an unknown with KPJ, even if he was getting into his groove. Jonathan Ing responds, said KPJ's main problem is he is struggling to scale down his game to fit with this team. It is a maturity issue. I agree with that too. Bonesaw said 10 games, 10-game sample. Jonathan Ing said KPJ looks better next to Harden, but when he is the primary ball handler, his decision-making is bad, over dribbles, and makes things overly complicated. I mean, that was part of the reason I wanted to see him next to Harden, and they have had those crossover minutes in the starting lineup for a little bit, or at least when KPJ has come in early, and then Harden goes to the bench a minute or so later. We've seen a little bit of that. Can he alleviate some of the burden with the ball handling responsibilities? That is all on James Harden. Julio said, prefer Miller because we don't really know who he is yet. While with Bones and KPJ, we already know who they are. We definitely have a much better idea of who they are. That's for sure. And that's a problem. It's just, yeah, it's frustrating right now. And I don't think there's an easy answer. And I don't want to act like, hey, just go to Jordan Miller and that's going to fix everything with this team. I'm not saying that. Do I think if there's a season where a young guy needs to get minutes for this Clippers team and develop, and when he's not even that young, he's going to be 25 at the end of it, it's this year. I think he could give you the best of both worlds. I think Jordan Miller can help you win now while he develops. Julio Rodriguez said 10-game sample size is going out the window. Well, if they lose tonight and start 2-3, if they lose to OKC and then are 2-4, do they start making more rash decisions? Do they start breaking glass in case of emergency and not wait for a 10-game sample size because they can't afford to, I don't think. Not if things aren't changing and it looks the same over and over again with Harden being worn down and not having enough offensive juice and shot creating and playmaking. And the three-point shooting doesn't look good. Jordan Miller, those no-dip threes, I think it's going to be dependent on record. Hey, they win tonight? Maybe KPJ gets more time. They keep losing. KPJ looks bad. Maybe he doesn't get as much. Maybe he doesn't make it to the 10-game sample. Maybe the Clippers are doing that with other guys too. Maybe Terrence Mann is out of the starting lineup. Terrence Mann, while he was a little bit more aggressive, took a couple of threes last night, still couldn't hit them. He's got to start hitting shots. This isn't a team with Kawhi, with Paul George out there too. He's got to be more of the offensive scoring punch now. Howard said, I trust on KPJ. I'm a fan of Bones, but I'm a realist. KPJ has size and talent to be special. Way too early to give up on the gamble. I trust on KPJ. Okay. I get the logic. He has higher upside. He could be a very poor man's James Harden. That would be nice. But it's not materializing through 4. Bonesaw said, whose minutes will Miller take? KPJ, Mann, Amir, or a combination of the 3? Yeah, it doesn't have to just be one guy getting all his minutes cut or out of the rotation, I guess. But I think the guy is KPJ. Now, maybe it's just if KPJ gets suspended, those minutes go to Jordan Miller or those minutes go to Bones Highland right away. Right? That makes sense. Is that what they're assuming is going to happen? Julio said, Adam, I prefer Miller because we don't know who he is yet. While with Bones and KPJ, we already know who they are. You have to take risks in life if you want to succeed. I mean, calculated risks, yes. I agree with that point, though, overall. Scrapper D said, I read KPJ was the youngest to score 50 points and 10 assists, and he did it 3 years ago against the Bucks with Drew Holiday on him. He will only improve. Let me cut that off. Let me provide context to that. I have watched that game against the Bucks where he got 50. I have heard this stuff about he was getting it on Drew Holiday. Let me tell you, that is not true. Some of the buckets were on Drew. Some of them. A lot of it was just KPJ got hot from 3, guys. That's it. A player got hot from 3. A player had a hot game. Brandon Jennings had a game like that his rookie season. Did he turn out to be great? No. I don't think you can put a lot into that game and say, hey, this is what you're chasing. This guy can score 50. Yeah, if he hits 10 threes and goes blackout unconscious from distance, has that happened a ton since? Now, he's had a season shooting 37% from 3. That's not nothing on decent volume. Bonesaw making the jokes. I read that if Kai had KD's skill set, he would be just fine. Kai did have a crazy dunk last night on Klingon, where he took him off the dribble from beyond the arc and showed off the athleticism and how at times it looks like, I don't want to say he's playing like a guard, but he can move for a big man and with the basketball, and that is very unique. And that is the tantalizing upside of Kai Jones, all wrapped up in one play. Like, it's that simple. I'll show you the Kai Jones play just so you guys know what I'm talking about, because this is an extremely special dunk where you see everything that he could be. Let me see here. Do I got to go to Clippers Reddit to find it? I know somebody posted it up there. This could get toxic. They could be talking about me. They could be talking about, yeah, if Sky Jones. First of all, when do I get credit for that nickname? I called it before he had the game winner against Seattle. That's all right. I don't need it. I'll share the screen with you. Here's the play from Kai Jones, guys, that I'm talking about here. This is a very unique talent. Pops out to get the ball from Amir. Little crossover dribble, drives by his man for the dunk. And one. That is pretty insane from a guy who's almost 7 feet tall. This is the hope with Kai Jones and why everybody wanted to see him on the Clippers. That play illustrates it all right there. So, hey, it's a big play for a young man. I thought Kai Jones was pretty good last night, actually. His best regular season game. People are still debating KPJ. Sam said, I'm not trying to hear about KPJ being special. The guy has zero feel for the game. But does he have zero feel right now because he just had a year off from playing the game? Would probably be the counter. Jonathan Ing said, I've been saying from day one that KPJ needs to simplify his game. Yes. Jim Jackson has also said as much on the broadcast. Again, maturity issue. Russ does not explain the poor decision making. I think it can somewhat, but you're right. I think the poor decision making is also part of his game that has nothing to do with the rust. I think we saw that in Houston when he wasn't rusty, he was starting. Drip Galore said, try to copy that Zoo Cross fake for the slam. Jonathan Ing said KPJ needs to take some of those catch and shoot threes instead of ball pounding and hesitating after catching. I mean, he shot 48% in the 21-22 season on catch and shoot threes, KPJ. He shot 44%, still good, the 22-23 season with Houston on catch and shoot threes. But we haven't seen hardly any of those. Now, the one that Amir hit him with in the near side corner that he missed early in the fourth quarter, I want to see the timing of that play. It was, I believe, early fourth quarter. Yeah, it was at the 8:50 mark. Man, I was actually able to find that quick. So the Clippers at that point are up 92-89. Kevin Porter Jr. just hit, to his credit, guys, he hit a really nice step back jumper with ease after Rupert went on his own little 7-0 run, which really killed the Clippers, by the way. That was after the Kevin Porter Jr. nice feed to Kai Jones. See, this is why it's a mixed bag. Like, I can point to some really good plays last night from Kevin Porter Jr. That dish he had to Kai Jones that put him up 8 in the fourth quarter at 90-82 was special. But then, is it pronounced Rupert? He has a 2-pointer. Multiple. Then a 3-pointer. He goes on his own 7-0 run. The Clippers go from 90-82 to 90-89. Just like that. And then Kevin Porter Jr. hits a slump buster. They needed a shot. Offensively, they weren't getting anything to go. Nice step back jump shot from the foul line. It looked pretty. It really did. But then he had that near side corner 3 off the feed from Amir Coffey. And maybe Amir was thinking he just knocked down a shot. It just made a nice assist. I'm going to turn down the right wing 3, find KPJ in the corner from 3, higher percentage shot based off the analytics. Even though Kevin Porter's not making any threes right now, he missed it. So it's not as simple as he's just been terrible. Like, he made some really good plays there too. And if you're looking at plus minus, that 7-0 run by Rupert from Portland, and I want to make sure I'm pronouncing his name right. I'm going to check this again. It is Rupert. He's French. Ryan Rupert. That 7-0 run, when people are saying, oh, look at Kevin Porter Jr., look at his plus minus. It's like, first of all, using plus minus in one game sample size is extremely flawed. Go look at the game against Denver where Kevin Porter Jr. was awful, and he still was like a +7 out there. Why? Not because of anything he did. He was out there at the right place, right time where his teammates were doing stuff. Just like Rupert going on a 7-0 run against the Clippers, I'm not putting all that on Kevin Porter Jr., and that's what killed his plus minus. Even though he had a couple of really nice plays early in the fourth quarter. Like, you have to watch the film and then see if it lines up with the plus minus when you're going off a one-game sample. It's as simple as that. I can't stress that enough. So, yeah. I get it. He's got to be better, a lot better. I don't know what they're going to do. If they're going to make the move to Jordan Miller tonight against Phoenix, who we can kind of give a preview of now. Phoenix Suns on the season are currently with an offensive rating of just 17. after the Clippers did clamp them up that first game. A defensive rating of, are they even further down than that? No, they're higher up. They're 6th. So they have been better defensively under Coach Bud so far. It's very early. The Phoenix Suns are currently 3-1. They just beat the Lakers the other night where they came back on them. I think the Lakers had an 18-point lead. And the Suns came back and made some tough jumpers late. Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, shots you really can't do much about. JJ Redick spoke about it post-game, and I thought he was right with those points. They blew a game to the Lakers where they were up 20 in their second game. That was in Los Angeles after beating the Clippers in overtime, 116-113 in their first game, the Clippers' first game at Intuit Dome. Missed free throw, bad turnover late. Then they beat Dallas 114-102 at home. Then the Lakers 109-105. So this is a really good test. Phoenix had the day off yesterday. Clippers obviously didn't. Clippers want some revenge. They want a very good win. Beat Phoenix. They're 3-1. The Suns look good. So far, you look at what their big three is doing. I don't even think they're close to reaching their potential yet. But if you just look at the numbers, Kevin Durant's at 29 points per game. Devin Booker hasn't looked great so far. He's still at 23 points per game. Well, actually, his last game, I think his numbers went up because now he's at 45% from the floor and 42% from three. But KD's shooting 53% from the field, 45% from three, the age of 36, still that efficient. And Bradley Beal, who's missed a game, he's getting 18 points per game while shooting 50% from the floor, 42% from three. Tyus Jones, thought that was a great pickup for Phoenix. It has been. He had a couple of layups. What really killed him was the Suns getting in transition and getting some easy buckets when the Clippers were up by 9, up by 10 at one point in that fourth quarter at Intuit Dome. And their defensive breakdowns and their transition defense wasn't very good after some ill-advised shots like a quick three-pointer taken by James Harden at the top of the arc from 30 feet out that was completely unnecessary. It was a heat check moment, I guess. But it got the Suns out in transition. It got them easy ones. And Harden said as much last night. The key against Phoenix tomorrow, now tonight, is transition defense. Do not give up some easy ones to them like they did late in that fourth quarter. He remembered that. That's good, at least. They knew what was their downfall. But look, Nurkic, 8-7 so far. I think Ivica Zubac obviously has to be much better. Much, much better. The Suns' three-point shooting, I want to see where they're at as a team right now and give you an update on the Clippers' three-point shooting. So right now the Suns are, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They're top 10. They're 8th three-point shooting. They're at 38% from three, and they're taking more under Mike Budenholzer, and that was one of the reasons they brought him in. Play the analytics more. You have shooters. Why was Frank Vogel not doing this? They're taking 38 per game, and they're shooting 38% from three. The Clippers were a little bit better last night. They are 24th from three at 33%, so 5% less than what Phoenix is at. They're only getting up 32, but that's one more than they were getting up going into yesterday's game where they were at 31. Now they're almost at 33. I asked Coach Lou pregame yesterday about three-point shooting and how to balance that because they were doing so much work in the paint, most paint touches in the league heading into that game against Portland. And he said, I'm fine with it right now with them not getting up as many threes because they were doing work in the paint, obviously. But overall, he said he wants them to take more threes. That is an emphasis going on. So asked him that pregame. Jonathan Ing said the Golden State Warriors game where he was a plus 16, KPJ played well and took the shots he was supposed to, even if they didn't go in. Okay. I wouldn't even say he played okay. I don't think he looked like he was a plus 16 out there. Again, tell me that the plus minus is meaningful when he was a plus in the game against Denver and he was god-awful. You can't trust it in single game situations. I'm not using it for man in single game situations, Mio. I'm using it in totality over a season, over a larger sample size. Yes, there are times where I can say the plus minus makes sense. Okay, Batum was very impactful, and the plus minus shows that even when he didn't have the stats, I can point to this and this he did. I'm saying it has to align with the eye test when you're using it in one game. Mio said, I said I'd wait till game 20 to speak on man. Let me stop. Okay. I could stop you with the timeout if you'd like. I'm just playing. Jonathan Ing said, I think the Clippers will play better tonight. Man's history with Booker. So I expected similar intensity to game one. Zoo flat out owns Nurkic. Got to play with urgency tonight. I agree with that. I do expect them to be better. Phoenix is also averaging 27 attempts at the free throw line per game to start the season. And obviously some of that is because the Clippers, I think, gave them 35 free throw attempts in game one. I'll check on that in a second, but you got to do a better job defending without fouling. They hit their last 10 free throws in that game and only made one shot in overtime against the Clippers in that first game. It was all free throws. The Clippers are attempting 23 per game. Phoenix at the charity stripe, also much better at 80%. Clippers at 72%. I mean, after last night, that's not surprising, of course. Clippers still have been a decent rebounding team, better than I thought they'd be so far. I'll give them that. But they didn't take advantage of all their second chance opportunities with their 13 offensive rebounds last night. They didn't shoot well in those second chance opportunities. That and Portland shooting so well on theirs was a big reason they lost the game. Steals and blocks right now for the Clippers and Suns. Clippers are just about top 10 in steals at 8.5 per game. The Phoenix Suns are about 20th at 7.5. So you see, you can move up that much in about 10 spots different. It's just one more steal per game the Clippers are getting than them, and they're up 10 spots. Blocks, though, Phoenix is top 5 at 7. The Clippers, where are we at? Ooh, they're down there. They are 27th in blocks at just 3.3. But blocks is like, sometimes sacks in the NFL is overrated. It's more about pressure on the QB. Sacks can indicate that, but QB hurries is important. It's kind of the same with rim protection and what teams are shooting within 6 feet of the rim. Like, you may not get the blocks, but you're redirecting shots. So even though they're at 3.3 blocks per game, their defense has still been really good overall on the interior too. Weren't as good last night, of course. I want to see some of the numbers from that first game between Phoenix and the Clippers here. And I'll end with this, as we've been going for some time here on Clippers Talk, but I wanted to make sure we got the actual preview in, because I'm thinking the Suns in that game had 35 free throws attempted. 34. I was one off. They did only go 25 of 34. Kevin Durant missed those two to give everybody Chick-fil-A early in the fourth quarter. The Wall had the advantage there, but then they hit their last 10 free throws attempted. I wonder tonight, this is something I am very intrigued by. You saw Portland. They chose not to go against the Wall in the second half. The Phoenix Suns did. The road team gets to choose which side they're originally going at. So then second half, which side of the court they're going towards on offense. And they chose to go towards the Wall. Are they going to do that again tonight? Does Coach Bud want the smoke? I'm really interested to see, because Portland went away from it, and the Clippers actually are the ones who missed. I don't think the Wall did it to him, but Sam said, so the Clippers are giving KPJ a get-right season while we lose? That's malpractice. It's been 4 games. How can you call it a season? 4 games. You said if KPJ can't play good against bad teams, then how is he able to perform against good to great teams? Fair point. Jonathan Ing said, oh, no, I agree with you on plus minus. Golden State matched the eye test. The Denver game with plus minus didn't match the eye test. Okay, I'm with you. Mio said, your timeouts mean nothing to me. I grew up in your timeouts. You were born in darkness? Is this the Bane approach from The Dark Knight Rises? Boys said, if I see Booker shaking Ballmer's hand, smiling, and calling him sir, I'm going to have my suspicions. Did you guys see that with Devin Booker? That moment? I'll try to find it here for you. Devin Booker, Steve Ballmer. Yeah, he did shake his hand. He did show Steve Ballmer love. I don't know if that was post-game or pre-game. Do you guys know? In that clip that was circulating? Went a little bit viral. I think I found the Instagram post here. No, this is post-game. Where Devin Booker said, Kevin Durant missed 2 down there against the wall. That S might work. Spend $2 billion, put a wall up. We heard them. Okay, here we go. I found it for you guys. Devin Booker talking with Steve Ballmer. I'll share the screen and play it for you. This is from Jamal Christopher. Who else? My guy.
Congratulations, man. Nice to hear. Need a tour.
We'll make it clear. It's not tampering. Building a great arena like this and having the opposition take notice. Okay? It's not close. And that was pregame. Howard says team needs to be aggressive to win versus the Suns. Okay? Can you elaborate? What does aggressive mean exactly? James Harden started really slow in that game. He needs to start fast tonight. He started, I want to say, 2 for 11 in the first half against Phoenix. He did get hot. He did go after Tyus Jones. He has to hunt that mismatch again. Make them pay every time they put Tyus Jones on him on a switch. Now, I don't expect Phoenix to do as much switching because it was originally Kevin Durant on James Harden. They were having a back-and-forth battle, 2 former teammates. And then he'd get the screen. Amir Coffey would come up and set it. His man was Tyus Jones. He'd go on to James Harden. They just switched far too easily. The Phoenix Suns. They were willing to switch in a way I don't think they will be able to after what James Harden did to Tyus Jones in game 1. They were conceding the switch like nobody's business. Big Zoo did have 21-9 in that game. Did work against Nurkic. Has to happen again. Norman Powell did not have a great game 1. 17 points, but 5 of 16 shooting, 1 of 7 from 3. Expect Norm to have a better game. Amir Coffey had a good game, though. He had 11 that first night into a dome. That long three-pointer he hit, 2 of 2 from the outside, 4 of 4 from the floor. I thought Kai Jones and his minutes were solid against Mason Plumlee last week in that game. That's something to look at again, especially on a back-to-back. Could get more than the 13 minutes he played. I don't know. We'll see. That's a decent chunk. And it was also a great game from Derrick Jones Jr., who didn't have a great game scoring-wise yesterday. Took a hard hit on his head at one point. He still hit a three-pointer, but just 4 of 11 from the floor against Portland. 9 points. 8 boards for him, though. It was a solid game. Derrick Jones Jr. has been phenomenal so far in a Clippers uniform, guys. Absolutely fantastic with his play, and just the effort defensively has been so good. This guy didn't get paid and is resting on his laurels or anything like that now. Derrick Jones Jr., love him. Glad he's a Clipper. Terrence Mann, I also thought, had his best game against Phoenix, as someone brought up earlier here in the chat. Would like to see, because of the rivalry between them, the competitive juices get going. Sam said, I would love to somehow steal Booker from the Suns. Pull-Up said it's the best arena in the league, obviously. JJJ said, are we getting anyone else through the trade to get more offense at some point in the season? Sure. Who's the guy? Who do you think they're getting? Who's giving the Clippers good players, just offering them up? Yanni Tier said, I'm still on board with KPJ despite his 5 turnovers. I still saw improvement. Ball handler creators are more likely to have turnovers anyways. True. We're seeing it with James Harden right now. The Pull Up Podcast said Amir Coffey is our best two-way player outside of Kawhi's. He should never get less than 20 minutes. Amir's been really good so far this season. He was good in the preseason. Amir came out just shot out of a cannon. The first game against Golden State, he looked great. I think he only played 7 minutes, and he was awesome. Amir's been hitting the ground running. Howard said, we need to play very good defensively and push the pace every time. Push the pace when you can. You have to be opportunistic. They're just not like James Harden is a slow, methodical ISO player. When you have guys on runouts and leakouts, and he caught Terrence Mann for 2 of them in the first quarter where he beat his man down the floor, doing some cherry picking. They didn't get to enough of that, I'd say, but they also had 20 points in transition. So can't say they didn't try. I mean, Norman Powell, after that turnover, and it looked like a block, a chaotic sequence late where Portland had the ball with 40 seconds left. They went towards the basket. They lost it. Norman Powell's coming back the other way. Then he loses the basketball, and it goes off of him with 30 seconds left after he thought he was fouled. Like, they tried. He was getting out and running there. We'll see. Big game tonight. I appreciate you guys. We'll have your pregame starting right back here at 6:30 on Clippers Talk on the YouTube live side. We'll also be on, I think, AM 570 LA Sports or the Patriot AM 1150. I'm not sure. Dodger season obviously is over, so we should be on AM 570 LA Sports. Get to me at Follow Adam A on X. At Clippers Talk, also on the TikTok side, if you want to check out some of those videos I put there. At Clippers Talk, follow Adam A on Instagram too, if you miss me. Big game tonight. I want to see the Clippers bounce back. Erase what happened last night. Get the bad taste out of your mouth. Execute down the stretch against Phoenix. And play the same defense they did game 1 against Kevin Durant, where 8 for 17 is what he went to get his 25. Devin Booker was 5 for 9. He only got 9 shots up, 15 points. Bradley Beal, 8 for 12. He had a good game with 24, but they were very good against KD and Devin Booker overall. Defend without fouling down the stretch. Win the rebounding battle again. They had 13 offensive rebounds to 4 in the first game for Phoenix. 51-42 overall with the rebounding battle of the boards. Clippers should have won that game. They need to get one back. We will talk to you later tonight from Intuit Dome at 6:30. I'm Adam Oslin. You've been listening to another edition of Clippers